Ladies and gentlemen, lend me your ambition, the raw, unfiltered hunger that got you out of bed before dawn. Because today, we're not talking fairy tales. We're talking failure, the kind that keeps you awake, the kind that leaves your heart racing at 3 a.m. I'm not here to sugarcoat it. Most entrepreneurs will fall face first. Worse, they'll stay there, spinning in the dust, paralyzed by fear, pride, or shame. But here's a promise. This speech isn't about the fall. It's about the rise, and damn that rise. It's only for the relentless failure doesn't begin when the company shuts its doors. It doesn't begin when the investors pull out, or when the customers stop buying. Failure begins the moment you start lying to yourself. It begins when you choose comfort over clarity, when you protect your ego instead of protecting your business. That's where most entrepreneurs die, not in the market, but in their own minds. The brutal truth is this: you are not as good as you think you are. The market doesn't care about your dreams, your sleepless nights, or the story you told your friends about how you're going to change the world. The market cares about value, cold, hard value. If you are not delivering that value consistently, then it doesn't matter how many motivational quotes you post on Instagram. The market will spit you out and move on without hesitation. But here's the problem: most people can't look in the mirror and admit it. It's easier to blame the economy, to blame the government, to blame competition. It's easier to say the timing wasn't right, or investors don't understand my vision. Excuses are free, and because they're free, people indulge in them daily. But excuses don't build businesses, they build delusion. When you own the brutal truth, you strip away all of that noise. You confront the uncomfortable. You say, my product is weak. My team is disorganized. I am not disciplined enough. I don't know what I don't know. That level of honesty hurts. It cuts deep. But it is also liberating, because once you accept where you are failing, you can begin to change it. You can only fix what you're willing to face. Think about it: some entrepreneurs spend more time polishing their pitch deck than fixing the fundamentals of their business. They want to look good in the boardroom, but outside that room, their operations are chaos. They want applause for their vision, but they don't want to admit their execution is poor. That's why investors walk away. Not because the idea is terrible, but because the entrepreneur is too in love with their own image to confront reality. There's another layer to this. Sometimes the brutal truth isn't about the business. It's about you. Maybe you're lazy. Maybe you lack consistency. Maybe you're addicted to distraction, chasing every shiny trend that pops up instead of mastering the grind that success demands. And until you call it out, until you say, I am the problem, you will keep sabotaging your own progress. The difference between those who survive and those who collapse is simple. Survivors are ruthless with themselves. They demand more from themselves than the world ever could. They don't hide behind excuses. They don't mask weakness with arrogance. They look reality in the eye, no matter how ugly it is, and they do the work to improve it. But let me warn you, the brutal truth isn't glamorous. It doesn't look good on social media. It won't get you likes, shares, or applause. Nobody claps when you admit you're failing. Nobody celebrates when you tear down your business model and rebuild it from scratch. This is lonely work. This is humbling work. And that is exactly why so few are willing to do it. You can always tell who's living in denial. They're the ones obsessed with external validation. They measure their success by how many people call them boss, or how big their office is. But deep down, they know their numbers don't add up. Their processes are broken, and their growth is an illusion. They avoid the brutal truth because they know it will expose them. And eventually, reality does the exposing for them publicly, painfully, and permanently. So if you want to stand out, if you want to build something that lasts, stop running from the mirror. Stand there, confront yourself, strip away the lies and face the facts. What is broken? What is weak? What is holding you back? And when you see it, don't flinch. Own it. Because ownership is the first step to mastery. Greatness doesn't come from pretending everything is fine. It comes from acknowledging that everything is not fine, and then building the discipline, the systems, and the courage to fix it. The brutal truth is harsh, yes, but it is also your greatest ally. It shows you exactly where you are vulnerable, exactly where you must grow, exactly what you must change. And that honesty, that willingness to confront reality without filters, is the foundation of every real success story. If you are unwilling to face that truth, then do yourself a favor. Stop. Quit now. Spare yourself the pain of watching your dream unravel in slow motion. But if you are willing, if you have the guts to admit what most people never will, then you have a fighting chance. Because the entrepreneur who owns the brutal truth is the entrepreneur who cannot be stopped. Resilience is the currency you trade when everything else runs out. Money can dry up. Investors can disappear. Markets can collapse. But resilience, the ability to take a punch, to absorb the blow and still get back on your feet, that is the only thing that separates the ones who last from the ones who vanish. People think entrepreneurship is about ideas. No, it's not. Ideas are cheap. Everybody has ideas. Walk into any coffee shop, and you'll hear a dozen people talking about the next big thing. But very few will still be there 5 years later, still building, still fighting, still bleeding for that dream. Why? Because the journey doesn't reward cleverness, it rewards endurance. You see, life will test you. Business will break you. And when it does, the question is not whether you had the best pitch deck or the most polished logo. The question is, did you get back up? Did you stand again when it would have been easier to stay down? That's resilience. That's the true currency. Every failure, every rejection, every humiliation is a tax you pay for success. You will be told no. You will be ignored. You will be underestimated. And if you don't have resilience, those moments will bury you. But if you do, those same moments become fuel. You use them. You sharpen yourself against them. You rise from them stronger, tougher, wiser. Think about it like this. Imagine two entrepreneurs standing side by side. One has everything: money, networks, education. The other has none of that, but possesses an unshakable resilience. Put them through the fire. The first will crumble when the comfort disappears, when things stop going their way. The second will fight, claw, and crawl their way through the ashes until they find daylight again. Who survives? The one who refuses to quit. Resilience is not a gift. It's a choice. It's a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. But most people don't want to train it. They want comfort. They want guarantees. They want the path to be smooth. Let me tell you now, if you want smooth, get a job. If you want guaranteed, buy insurance. If you want to build a business, prepare for pain. Prepare for nights when you can't breathe because the pressure is so heavy. Prepare for mornings when you wonder why you started. And then prepare to answer those questions with action. To keep moving forward anyway, that's resilience. It doesn't mean you don't feel the weight. It means you refuse to surrender to it. It means when you fall, you don't just stand up, you stand up faster. You don't give pain time to settle. You don't give failure the dignity of permanence. You rise quickly and you rise hungry. Most people think resilience is about toughness. No, toughness is stubbornness. Resilience is adaptability. Toughness says, I won't bend. Resilience says, bend me, break me. I will rebuild myself into something stronger. Toughness resists change. Resilience thrives in it. That's why resilience wins. There will be moments when your own mind betrays you, when that voice whispers, it's too much, you've lost too much, you can't do this anymore. And in that moment, resilience is your weapon. It's the voice that answers back, I've come too far to quit. I've been through worse than this. I am not done. That inner conversation determines whether you rise or remain broken. Look at every great entrepreneur, every name you admire. Strip away the headlines, the glamour, the wealth. What you'll find underneath is story after story of collapse, rejection, failure, and defeat. The only reason you know their names is because they got back up one more time than they were knocked down. That's it. That's resilience. And here's the irony. Success will test your resilience even more than failure. When you start winning, when money starts flowing, when people start calling you genius, that's when you get soft. That's when you start believing you're untouchable, and then the hit comes, a crisis, a disruption, a betrayal. Suddenly you're exposed. If you've lost your resilience in the comfort of success, that one blow will finish you. That's why you can never stop building it. Resilience is not seasonal. It's permanent. It's a way of life. It's how you think, how you move, how you react. It's not waiting for things to be easy. It's knowing things will be hard and deciding you'll be harder. So when the storm comes, don't waste time asking why it happened. Don't cry about fairness. The storm doesn't care. The market doesn't care. The only thing that matters is whether you stand when it passes. Whether you still have the will to fight, to adapt, to move forward. That is resilience. That is your real wealth. Because the truth is simple. Resilience buys you time. Time to rebuild. Time to recover. Time to reinvent. Without it, you are bankrupt the moment trouble arrives. With it, you are rich, no matter how empty your bank account looks. And in the end, resilience is the only currency that never loses value. Comfort is seductive. It whispers to you in the quiet moments, telling you that you've done enough, that you deserve to rest, that tomorrow is another day. Comfort tells you that the world can wait. Comfort tells you that the opportunity will still be there when you feel ready. And that's why comfort is the silent killer of dreams, because while you sit in comfort, someone else is learning, someone else is growing, someone else is sharpening their edge, and by the time you finally get up, the world has moved on without you. You cannot build a business, you cannot build a legacy by lusting after comfort. The path of growth is not soft. It is jagged, brutal, and unrelenting. It demands that you stretch yourself beyond what you think you are capable of. Every single day, learning is uncomfortable because it forces you to admit that you don't know enough. It forces you to sit in rooms where you are not the smartest person. It humbles you, and most people cannot handle humility. That is why they settle for comfort. But here's the truth. Comfort and growth cannot live in the same room. The moment you choose comfort, you've said no to growth. The moment you choose ease, you've said no to mastery. And mastery is what separates those who build businesses that endure from those who disappear after a few loud months of noise. Learning is not just about books or degrees. It's about perspective. It's about seeing what others don't see because you are willing to dig deeper, to ask harder questions, to seek answers in places where others are too proud or too lazy to go. Learning requires sacrifice. It demands your time, your focus, and sometimes even your pride. But what it gives you in return is an arsenal, knowledge that allows you to outmaneuver competitors, insight that keeps you relevant in a market that changes by the hour. The danger of lusting after comfort is that it blinds you to reality. You tell yourself you're fine because things are working for now. You convince yourself that the little success you've tasted is enough proof that you've arrived. But markets don't wait. Technology doesn't pause. Customers don't remain loyal out of pity. While you're enjoying your comfort, the world is shifting under your feet. And when you finally wake up, you realize you've been left behind. Learning is uncomfortable because it exposes your ignorance. It shows you the gaps in your thinking, the weaknesses in your strategy, the flaws in your execution. And it takes courage to admit those gaps. But that's the price of growth. If you're not willing to feel that discomfort, then you're not serious about building anything great. Think about athletes. The best ones don't stop training when they become champions. In fact, they train harder, they study their opponents more, they dissect every mistake, because they understand that comfort is the beginning of decline. The same is true in business. The moment you start telling yourself you've arrived, you've already started falling. Every mistake you make in business carries a lesson, but most entrepreneurs miss it because they're too busy running from the discomfort of failure. They don't ask, "What did this teach me?" They ask, "Why did this happen to me?" And in that question, they lose the opportunity to grow. The pain you experience is not punishment, it is instruction. It's life's way of teaching you what no classroom ever could. The entrepreneurs who survive are those who turn discomfort into a classroom. They take rejection and study it. They take failure and analyze it. They take humiliation and extract wisdom from it. They understand that every painful experience is a lesson, and every lesson compounds into an advantage. Over time, those lessons build a business that can weather storms, adapt to change, and stand where others collapse. Comfort, on the other hand, makes you slow. It makes you predictable. It lulls you into believing that tomorrow will look like today. And then one day you wake up and discover that the world has no use for what you've built. Comfort robbed you, not because you lacked talent or ideas, but because you refused to keep learning. So the choice is simple. You can lust after comfort and get temporary relief, or you can embrace learning and build something that outlives you. One gives you peace today, the other gives you power tomorrow. You decide which one you value more. Growth lives in the discomfort. Every time you step into a room where you feel out of place, every time you wrestle with a problem that seems beyond you, every time you confront a weakness you would rather ignore, you are building something extraordinary. You are building the capacity to lead, to innovate, to stay relevant. That's what learning is. That's what discomfort is for. And when the storm comes, and it will comfort, will abandon you. It won't protect you. But what you've learned, the knowledge you've gained, the wisdom you've extracted from every painful experience, that will stand by you, that will guide you, that will give you the strength to rebuild when everything else crumbles. So don't lust after comfort. Don't chase the easy path. Chase the growth. Chase the lesson. Chase the discomfort that forces you to become more than you were yesterday. Because in the end, the ones who win are not the ones who had it easiest. They are the ones who are willing to learn the hardest lessons. The most dangerous sentence in business is, "I know enough." The moment you say that, you've signed your death warrant, because knowledge isn't a destination. It is not a degree, a title, or a certificate you hang on your wall. Knowledge is a process. It is a river, not a reservoir. The minute you stop flowing, you start decaying, and the market does not forgive decay. What made you successful yesterday could make you irrelevant tomorrow. Think about the companies you admired 10 years ago, the giants who seemed untouchable. Where are they now? Many of them collapsed, not because they lacked resources, but because they became complacent. They believed their past success meant they didn't have to keep learning. They thought they had mastered the game, only to discover that the rules had changed while they were celebrating. The truth is, the world doesn't pause for you. Technology doesn't pause. Consumer behavior doesn't pause. Competitors don't pause. So why should your learning pause? The arrogance of believing you've arrived is what kills potential. It locks you into old patterns, old habits, old systems that cannot survive in a new world. Knowledge is never complete because the world is never still. What you think you know today is only as useful as the speed with which the environment changes. If you're not constantly updating yourself, then you're walking into tomorrow with yesterday's tools. And that is why so many businesses collapse. They try to solve new problems with old answers. Learning is not about collecting information. It's about building adaptability. It's about sharpening your instincts so that when the unexpected comes, and it always comes, you are not blindsided. Most entrepreneurs think knowledge is a book or a course. It's not. It's curiosity. It's humility. It's the willingness to say, "I don't know, teach me. Show me, challenge me." Those who lack that humility will eventually be replaced by someone who has it. Here's the brutal reality. Someone somewhere is learning faster than you. Someone is studying harder, practicing longer, experimenting more. And the marketplace will always reward the one who is hungriest to learn. If you want to stay relevant, you need to outlearn everyone around you. You need to stay restless, stay uncomfortable, stay curious. Because the day you stop learning is the day you start dying. Think about leaders who built empires. The ones who last are the ones who evolve. They are students of their craft, forever chasing new ideas, new perspectives, new methods. They never believe they have arrived. They remain hungry, and hunger is what keeps them alive. Meanwhile, those who sit back and congratulate themselves get eaten alive by disruption. Knowledge is never complete because every success you achieve creates new challenges. When you're small, your problem is how to survive. When you grow, your problem is how to manage. When you scale, your problem is how to sustain. Each level demands a new version of you, and that new version requires new knowledge. If you are not learning, you cannot transform. And if you cannot transform, you cannot survive. Too many entrepreneurs fall in love with their own expertise. They want to be the smartest person in the room. But if you are always the smartest person in the room, you are in the wrong room. Growth comes from putting yourself in places where you feel inadequate, where you are challenged, where you are forced to stretch. Comfort kills, but curiosity saves. Ask yourself, when was the last time you admitted you didn't know something? When was the last time you read a book outside your industry? When was the last time you sat down with someone younger, sharper, and simply listened? If you can't remember, you're already falling behind. Because knowledge isn't just about depth, it's about breadth. It's about connecting dots that others don't see because you are willing to explore what they ignored. The entrepreneur who keeps learning becomes dangerous. Dangerous to competitors, dangerous to industries, dangerous to mediocrity, because they never stagnate. They are always one step ahead, always evolving, always adapting. You cannot defeat someone who refuses to stop growing. But the entrepreneur who stops learning becomes predictable, and predictability in business is a weakness. The market can read you, anticipate you, and outmaneuver you. You become yesterday's news, and no amount of branding or marketing can save you once the world decides you are irrelevant. So the lesson is simple: never assume you've arrived, never confuse experience with expertise, never let your pride convince you that you know it all. Knowledge is infinite, and your job is to stay on the path of pursuit. That pursuit is what keeps you sharp. That pursuit is what keeps you alive. At the end of the day, knowledge is not about being right. It's about being ready, ready for the shift, ready for the disruption, ready for the storm. And the only way to stay ready is to stay learning. The greatest leaders, the ones who built legacies that lasted, understood this truth. They were students first, masters second, always learning, always evolving, always moving forward. And that is the secret. Knowledge is never complete. The moment you believe it is, you've already lost. Charisma will get you in the room, but structure will keep you there. Showmanship can win applause, but structure wins wars. The problem with most entrepreneurs today is that they fall in love with the image of success rather than the infrastructure of success. They spend hours rehearsing their pitch, perfecting their slides, crafting their persona, but behind the curtain there is chaos. No systems, no discipline, no order, and chaos always collapses. You can fake confidence, you can fake passion, but you cannot fake results, and results don't come from showmanship, they come from structure. Investors are not stupid, customers are not stupid, the market is not stupid. Eventually, the truth will expose you. When your numbers don't add up, when your promises aren't backed by delivery, no amount of charm will save you. Structure is the foundation. It is the boring, unglamorous, invisible work that nobody claps for. It is systems, processes, frameworks, discipline. It is building a machine that can run whether you are in the room or not. Most entrepreneurs want to be the face of the brand. They want to be seen as visionaries, leaders, disruptors. But behind the curtain, the business is fragile. One bad month, one crisis, one absence from the founder, and everything falls apart. That's not a business, that's theater. If you want longevity, build structure. Build something that can survive without your personality. Build something that can scale without your presence. Your job as an entrepreneur is not to be the show. Your job is to build the engine that drives the show. Structure is what takes you from a hustle to a company, from an idea to an institution. Showmanship is easy. Anyone can look the part for a few minutes. Anyone can impress in a meeting, but structure is hard. Structure means doing the work consistently. It means setting standards and sticking to them even when no one is watching. It means creating systems that enforce discipline, even when you feel tired or uninspired. Structure demands accountability, and accountability is uncomfortable, which is why most people avoid it. Look at the entrepreneurs who rise fast and fall even faster. They had the show, they had the stage, they had the spotlight, but when the music stopped, there was nothing left, no systems, no strategy, no resilience, because all their energy went into looking successful rather than being successful. And the market punished them for it. The market rewards structure. It rewards consistency. It rewards the boring work that nobody sees. The business with strong systems doesn't need to rely on luck. It doesn't need to rely on one charismatic leader. It survives storms because the structure holds it up. Just like a building, you don't admire the foundation, but without it, the entire thing collapses. The irony is that real structure eventually creates its own showmanship. When your numbers are strong, when your operations are smooth, when your delivery is reliable, people notice. Customers become your marketing. Results become your charisma. Investors chase you instead of you chasing them. Because substance will always outshine style in the long run. But too many entrepreneurs want shortcuts. They want the perception of success without the pain of building structure. They want headlines, not hard work. And in chasing the spotlight, they forget that the spotlight is fleeting. Today you're trending, tomorrow you're forgotten. But structure endures, structure compounds. Structure keeps you relevant when the crowd has moved on. Ask yourself this. If you disappeared from your business for 6 months, would it survive? Would it grow? Or would it crumble without your presence? That answer will tell you whether you've built a structure or a show. If everything depends on you, you don't own a business, you own a job with extra stress. A real business can stand without its founder. A real business runs on structure. Showmanship is about ego. Structure is about legacy. Ego says, look at me. Legacy says, look at what I built. Ego wants applause today. Legacy wants impact for decades. The entrepreneurs who last are the ones who resist the temptation of ego and commit to the discipline of structure. And structure isn't glamorous. It won't impress your friends. It won't get you standing ovations, but it will get you sustainability. It will get you scale. It will get you freedom. Because once the structure is built, you no longer have to be everywhere, doing everything. You can step back and focus on vision, innovation, and growth. That's real leadership. So stop chasing the applause. Stop obsessing over perception. The world doesn't need another entrepreneur with great branding and empty systems. The world needs builders. Builders who create businesses that solve problems, that create jobs, that outlast the founder's charisma. Structure over showmanship. Substance over style. Foundations over facades. Because at the end of the day, showmanship will make people remember your face. Structure will make them remember your impact. And impact is what entrepreneurship is truly about. Today, I've given you the map, but only you can walk the path. Entrepreneurs don't fail because they lack ideas. They fail because they lack the courage to face the mirror, the grit to come back stronger, and the humility to learn what success always hides. So I challenge you, when failure comes knocking, and it will, don't cower, step up, take notes, rebuild, be relentless, and one day someone else will stand where you are, wishing they had your scars, your lessons, your story. Because there's nothing more powerful than a fighter who's been knocked down and refused to stay down. Go rewrite your future.